Seismic Provisions of Reinforced Concrete Structures ACI 318. The seismic provisions of reinforced concrete structures ACI 318 will be our basis for us to compare the types of moment frames in which is also used in the International Building Code as adopted as ACI 318 for the official provisions for reinforced concrete design. What are the moment frames? A structural system with an essentially complete space frame providing support for gravity loads. Moment-resisting frames also provide resistance to lateral load, primarily by flexure action of members, which are the beams and columns, and may be classified as one of the following types. First one is the ordinary moment frames, and second is the intermediate moment frames, and lastly is the special moment frames. Ordinary moment frame, which is a moment-resisting frame which has a little resistance to seismic force, which has a reduction factor of 3, and for the intermediate moment frame is a type of frame that enhances detailing and design requirements over than of the ordinary moment frames, which has a higher resistance to seismic load than the ordinary, while the special moment frames is a moment resisting frame especially detailed to provide ductile behavior, which has a higher resistance to seismic loads, which has a reduction factor of 8. The OMF and IMF has the same minimum requirements for the beam reinforcement, wherein the first one is the beam shall be at least 2 continuous bars at both faces, top and bottom, at the support and shall be developed from the face of the support. And second is the beam columns with clear span depth ratio less than or equal to 5 shall be designed for shear as intermediate moment beam columns. The only difference between IMF and OMF is that in IMF there is a requirement for the beam spacing of the reinforcement, wherein the spacing should not be less than the 8 times the diameter of longitudinal reinforcement bar and 24 times the diameter of the stirrups, and D over 4 and 300 mm. So for the special moment frame, wherein it has now a requirement for the minimum dimensions of the beam and columns, wherein the minimum width of the beam should be the smallest of 250 mm and 0.3 times the height of the beam, and the minimum dimensions of the column should not less than 300 mm. Column detailing of moment frames, wherein in the OMF it is less detailed because it is designed to have a little resistance to seismic, while in the intermediate it is more detailed than the OMF because it can resist a greater seismic load than the OMF. But for the special moment frame, it is detailed better than the two because it is specially designed to resist a greater amount of seismic loads. So for additional informations, OMF is used for low seismic regions, while IMF is used to low to medium seismic regions, and SMF is for medium to high seismic regions. For the advantages of OMF, it is expected to withstand limited inelastic deformations, and IMF is intended to withstand some permanent damage following limited force, while in the special moment frame, it is intended to withstand significant permanent damage following high level of forces. So that's all. Thank you for listening.